Can you hear me?
I can, Addy. I can indeed.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm just putting in like the topics and everything out there so that it
Okay,
looks nice.
wicked. It definitely
Um,
it feels more clear and crisp than Zoom. The
yeah.
audio.
Of course it's recording now, so that's the best part.
Got you.
And yeah, let's just adding another one. Branding. Okay, great. So we can see some topics, and I'll just add a link as well so that like if people are listening to it, they can like um see a nice article if they want to read it.
Got you.
And I'll just add you as a moderator. Perfect. So
So
that's it. That's it. We're on to the session.
awesome, Addy. Um, the metaverse. Wow. What a place. What a an opportunity for businesses, for consumers, for everybody.
Indeed, it
Um,
is. Yep.
it is. It is. You did a dissertation titled "Understanding Factors of Gamifications That Influence Brand Engagement, Consumer Engagement Behaviors, and Perceived Value in the Metaverse." Now,
Yeah.
could you elaborate a little bit, please, on the research aims and some of your findings? I guess.
Yeah. So I'll hit back at why this dissertation happened. So as a part of my master's in digital marketing at King's College London, which I did this year, I just got done with it. So I'm just like, yeah, oh damn, I'm through, I'm alive. But it was a 3 month, 3 or 4 month project. But like after in my last semester, I was actually supposed to take a topic which was in the digital marketing and digital brand strategy field, and there have been a lot of conversations around the metaverse because I was engaging with guest speakers at King's and talking to more people about what's happening around this phenomenon that's the metaverse. And when I spoke to people from Interbrand and TikTok and even all the top brands around the world, it's a really different conversation every time I speak to a different person. It's like someone's like, "Yeah, I'm scared of the metaverse. It's gonna bring about a big change." I heard that from TikTok, and
Right.
so like, yeah, of course, we're talking about a Web 2 context and the transition
Mm-hmm.
to Web 3, and these are Web 2 brands. So yeah, of course, there's big conversations out there as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just that the way we measure brand performances in the metaverse is probably very different from how we do it in social media, because those are two different contexts itself. We're talking about Web 2 and Web 3 together, and then you know when it comes to consumers, we have a niche of consumers in the metaverse, and it's like their form of engagement with brands, as we have seen with Nike, we've seen with Roblox, we've seen with Gucci, we've seen with Fortnite, and all the brands associated with this gaming platform. It's not what you see on social media in the case of usual display or search ads. Because I did search ads for like 3 years. I did display for four. And how I see brands engaging in the metaverse is not something that I can relate with Web2 constructs. Of course, foundations are similar in terms of digital strategies, the consumer journey, but what we could actually achieve in terms of an academic purpose and a perspective to find answers in the metaverse was extremely important because there's not a lot of research. There's I read somewhere around 93 papers in my
Right.
tenure of I think 4 months, and I actually found that the concept of the gamification, according to some scholars, which are really famous in the term in the side of metaverse studies, which could be Juho Hamari, they these authors, they emphasize on gamification factors or metaverse factors in a very different way, because
Yeah.
metaverse is a phenomenon which does not have a clear definition. You listen to Kathy Hackle,
It
you
does.
listen to
Yeah.
so many amazing people. They have a very different definition of the metaverse because it's perceived differently as a phenomenon, and it dates back to a novel that was written way back called Snow Crash, and then it turned to
Yeah.
a game called Second Life, and then we had so many opportunities like Club Penguin, Rune Escape,
I
and games we
remember.
played as a
I
child.
remember.
Yeah, we played these games as children, And these were the initial foundations of what we call today the metaverse, as far as how I see it. A lot of people won't agree with me, but this is again a part of
I
how I
guess
see these.
I
Yeah,
guess those were the early onsets of the metaverse, those platforms. I used to play a game called Have a Hotel, and damn, it was very addicting as a kid. All the concepts you see of the metaverse or what it could be was on that platform. So I guess when the buzzword around the metaverse came about, it clicked for me. It made sense. Hang on, this is a real possibility of it coming into fruition in essentially achieving mainstream adoption.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's
carry
true.
on.
That's absolutely the thing. That what you said. It's like we are progressing to what we were really looking for way back. Avatars. You have a particular way of how you wear clothes, how you look. What kind of character selection you have, what kind of story that you tell in a different environment, in a different virtual world. So when it comes to brands and their involvement with the metaverse, how things have gone with Nike, and a lot of brands that I could just not stop naming them, but there's so many of them that have already engaged in such platforms, and there's a lot of confusion regarding NFTs, regarding how consumption is happening of these assets, how engagement is taking place. There's no set definition of how we can really measure the performance of these things. And this is what's raising the question, because the consumer journey is similar. We're human beings. We have a way of consuming products, services, and brands and stories, and there needs to be a new way of understanding it. So, as far as I saw as a part of my research, there's a perspective where one of the authors said that there's four elements of the metaverse, which is gamification, tokenization, blockchainization, and virtualization. And these are four really distinct elements. And my research was focused on gamification, because of course when I'm talking about interactions, I'm talking about experiences, I'm talking about a good UI, or a good game mechanics. I feel these are really things that can answer a lot of questions and solve a lot of problems for society, and brands could really be a part of this. Brands could potentially use and convert users by solving problems in terms of experiences and not products now. So the
Yeah,
story is changing, and it's also because it's post the pandemic, we have seen consumers changing a perspective altogether. We're going to come to that, of course. It's going to be a really good conversation out there. But yeah, as far as I've seen this thing, I've had a very different perspective of analyzing gamification, which is mainly through the three types, and that could be achievement, immersion, and social interactions. Something that's similar to Web 2 constructs, but yeah, it's changing the conversation using the same foundations. And then you define customer journey through consumer engagement behaviors, which could be word of mouth and feedback, and a
yeah,
level of brand engagement, which could be social, cognitive, and emotional, and also leading to something that we all of course have, which is perceiving value, and
yeah,
which could, and in my study I used a functional and an economic benefit of how this can be utilized. So I try to find relationships of how gamification through my study, like I surveyed a lot. I did a questionnaire of of about like 2 minutes, and that was really small, but I used interactive media and I got a lot of people to participate in that questionnaire, quite a good sample. And I saw that the results that I received were similar to context where people said that they do not want to engage with the metaverse because they either fear it or they don't understand it. But if
okay,
you change the question, and that's what I want to really say, it's really important. If you change the question, that do you want to engage with brands in the metaverse, and you change that question and say, would you like to be in a situation where you're interacting with the brand in a gamified activity? There is a higher chance that people would say yes. And that's really seen in Gen Zs and millennials. That sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of privacy concerns. I'm hearing the stuff that my data is not mine. And if I'm in the metaverse, everything I say or I do is being recorded. But once you change the whole narrative and you say it's going to be gamified activity, you're like, yeah, I like gaming. Maybe I played Warzone, or maybe I played Fortnite once, or maybe I played PUBG once. But yeah, if there's a brand and I could actually interact with the brand within this space, I would. And there are games like Fortnite who have really used this opportunity on a different level. Roblox did the same thing. And this is how conversations are starting, and this is why people like us are talking about, digital marketers are talking about brand strategies and metaverse strategies, because we need to know what's coming, and it's massive. It's a massive opportunity for all of us.
It's it feels like the immersive experience provided through mixed realities is a game changer. It will provide companies with completely new creative opportunities to engage and with their consumer, with different stakeholders. Um, there's this recent project called the Eloki Project. It's a company, and essentially what it is if you plant a tree in the metaverse game through NFT ownership, it plants a tree in real life. So like there's creative initiatives that are already starting, and it's fascinating to see how this space will be, progressed further. Like I'm very curious to see how that's achieved.
I mean, what you said is like amazing. I would
Yeah,
just imagine, that I did a TED talk probably a couple of months back when I was at King's, and we were talking about sustainable brand positioning. A very,
yeah,
very amazing topic, because a lot of brands call themselves sustainable, but are they
yeah.
really sustainable? They're not. That's
This
that's
is
what we all say. This is Rand just talking bullshit. Sorry, pardon my French, but yeah, it's just like
that's fine.
there's gaslighting. There's so many things that get unanswered when you ask a lot of questions from these brands. But like if you say something like the example that you shared right now, if we are talking about brands calling themselves sustainable through gamified experiences, or through something that's where the consumer is immersed in a brand activity, it could be that brands might still not be sustainable, but they are actively a part of the consumer's journey to become sustainable.
it's
And
interesting. Yeah, go on, carry on.
it's just like how you're saying. I see. I made a transaction with this brand. I've engaged with this brand. I've converted with this brand, and tomorrow I am seeing the implications of what I do and what the brand does for the environment on in my name, or in my with me being loyal to them. That's that's what the metaverse can answer. Like it's a real experience that you can see, and it's amazing, man. It's just
It's
it's just phenomenal.
I spoke to someone in KPMG a few weeks ago, and essentially they believe alongside the metaverse, ESG practices are the next big thing, and there's a big push towards companies becoming more sustainable all round. And I think an immersive experience will provide companies the opportunity to communicate to their different stakeholders, whether that's a consumer, whether that's different tiers of their supply chain throughout the world. That hang on, we are adopting ESG practices, and through these gamification experiences, you can see it for yourself. Um, and this is just off the bat. Like imagine if we actually had time to sit down and think of a proper strategy. Um, there's so many avenues you could take this, I guess.
Oh, for sure, man. It's limitless. Of course, the metaverse is limitless in its own self. For
That's why.
consumers, for brands,
Wow.
everything, man. It's just that it's absolutely fine. But I want to know from you, Murtuza. It's like, um, how have you seen conversations around the metaverse at KPMG? Where you've been working there. Tell us about yourself. What's been going on with you, and what's your take on the metaverse? What's your interest in this?
Um, honestly, my I've always been fascinated around emerging technologies, and I feel like the metaverse is a combination of all the different types of emerging technologies combining together. And I find that very fascinating. I've always been a gamer as a kid. I am still a gamer, so it intrigues me how this space could be utilized. I guess from a B2B perspective, I'm very much intrigued and curious to see how for example, how it could make a supply chain streamlined, more visible, more transparent. And throughout lockdown, we saw that the global supply chains have issues. They're complex. They're fragmented. They are using outdated systems, I guess. And I feel like, I had during my masters, I had a guest speaker called Dave Food, and essentially he believed the metaverse is a way that supply chains can become more efficient, more effective, more transparent throughout. So I see its utility throughout, whether it from a B2C or B2B perspective. And there's been, corporations are making a lot of noises right now, and including KPMG. At this point, it's about, I think at this point, these lot, especially the big four, they're trying to find ways to provide products to their clients. And watch the space with KPMG. They are creating something extraordinary, I promise you, Adita. I'm speaking to the right people. They're working on creating the right team, a team dedicated towards this, purely because what you do not want is to be left behind in this space. The last thing you want is to be playing catch up. So I think the appropriate action has been taken, and hopefully in a few weeks' time I could have a different conversation with you about this.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I think what you said is a lot of people experience FOMO. It's a buzzword that really dominates the metaverse. I think as far as I remember, uh, from a brand point of view and from an experience point of view, I was not really immersed in not really going around with the metaverse. But what happened was when I heard that Horizon was getting launched in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at blogs and I was just looking at Facebook pages from Meta, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna launch it sometime soon. They never gave a date. It was just like within blogs and other platforms that okay, this is one day that we're expecting Horizon to launch, and I remember I was on Clubhouse the same day, and this guy, I was just talking to him and I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for Horizon to come, and he's like, mate, it's already launched. And I was like, okay, where is the hell is my Oculus? I need to be there right now. And I think that's where it's like you really want to be there. You with the metaverse, it's like it's so many more conversations. It's like you're meeting so many people. For us as marketeers, we want to look at how their intentions are, how they perceive the metaverse to be. It could be through game mechanics, like I said. I mean, of course, there's judgment, and Meta has been in a place where it has been judged a lot since the last couple
Yeah.
of months. There have been ups and downs in conversations. Okay, we're hearing good stuff and bad stuff about the company. The day it got changed into Meta from Facebook. So, of course, there's been a conflict. You see that in statistics. I saw reports on Statista and I was like, oh my God, people are really, some people are really against this, this
It's,
concept. And of course, when you see the niche and how they understand the metaverse, this is where I bring my research in, how they understand the metaverse as a phenomenon, how they have experienced the metaverse, and what expectations they have. When you see gamification as an element and which exists on a massive level, we have Fortnite, we have millions of new users on Fortnite, we have had Minecraft for a very long time, and we of course the Roblox user acquisition is already massive, and it's just going on. If you see the responses from such audiences and their level of intent in saying that we want to share our feedback with brands, we want more brands to collaborate. I think there was a large demand when I, I probably remember when there was a campaign from Marvel Studios that they wanted Iron Man and they wanted a couple of more characters coming in, and Marvel really did it. They got in touch with Fortnite and they brought in Iron Man, they brought in Wolverine. a lot of characters. You see Captain America, Spider-Man. You see a movie coming in. You saw Spider-Man No Way Home coming in. You could see Tom Holland and Zendaya's character in the game, and you could see trailers coming on YouTube. I mean, of course, I was targeted, but yeah, but of course, it's always there. But yeah, it's just that if you see that, and then you see the level of word of mouth that people have towards it, there is a positive correlation. Gamification in terms of achievement and immersion really leads to word of mouth, because if you're wearing a headset and you've invested in a VR headset, or you're downloading an application on your phone which makes you a part of the metaverse, and you're spending hours on it, you might as well want to talk about it within someone with someone who you really want to be with in the metaverse. So it's like direct to avatar marketing from these brands is leading to acquisition of more users, because these avatars are really what make things different for them, and they want people to see them as someone else, because today we have the opportunity to do that.
What
So yeah.
what role do you think NFTs, digital ownership, and gamify have towards achieving gamification then in the metaverse?
So gamify is a really amazing concept. So like I was an active NFT investor, I created NFTs as well. I was like, okay, when I started off with NFTs, I remember I was with my batchmates, and I suddenly said that I am uploading NFTs on OpenSea. You say OpenSea. I don't know how people spell it, but there was madness around me. There was absolute madness around me. They're like, oh my god, this guy is selling NFTs right now. And I remember during my classes and everywhere things were going around and we spoke about the metaverse, everyone was looking at me. It's like, oh yeah, Addy is doing something in the metaverse. So, yeah, people don't really get it. People don't really get it. But once you do that, it's a really amazing concept. And of course, NFTs have had their own ups and downs, because we have seen in the past scenarios when NFTs were launched by amazing brands. We have known them. We have seen them in our lives. We engage with such brands. We even consume such brands. You've seen Balenciaga. You've seen Gucci out there. You've seen so many other luxury brands. I would say Meta Luxury was there since 2016 on a high level in the metaverse, and though there were instances of NFTs being launched and valued really amazingly well, I remember like Hermes had this dispute in terms of the Birkins that were launched, and there was another version of the Birkins called Meta Birkins, which was selling at a cost that was more than the original Birkins. So yeah, and that happened with another designer. There's an article on that. Of course, I can share it on the forum itself. But like the amazing fact is that there has been a lot of controversy around NFTs, and especially regarding the brands that are non-native, not metaverse native. So like if I would say brands that are present in the physical world are non-native metaverse brands. And there are brands like Bored Ape Yacht Club and many more that we see on a regular basis. They're metaverse native brands, and there is a thing called metaverse native brands. Like you can create brands originating in the metaverse, and they used to exclusively deal with NFTs. What NFT gamification and GameFi did was that they made these NFTs available within a community of users where value was recognized. So for example, if I have an NFT and I could be utilizing that NFT in the metaverse, within the community I am in, I know that the person standing next to me, the avatar standing next to me, who is controlled by another individual, knows what I'm wearing or knows what I own as an NFT within the gamified environment. And that can also be used to create more money, because of course these investing through gaming can actually help you increase the value of your assets based on how your brand performance is or how the market is functioning. And also it's like, how I would say, it's ownership, it's collecting, it's protecting, it's creating a brand safe environment. Because how I say brand safe environment is, if I am within a pool of 100 users, everyone knows what these NFTs are. So I can differentiate myself as A from B and C because I own a different asset, and I can utilize and show that different asset. That's what we do in the real world as well. We
Yeah.
wear brands because we want to differentiate ourselves from the others. Of course, because you want to signify and see yourself as a persona, which is distinct from another persona. Because you may be having a preference towards Nike, but another person likes an Adidas or an Under Armour or a Gymshark. So, like, that's the thing. It's creating differentiation, it's creating brand safe environments, it's creating gamification at the same time, and it's making NFTs more consumable because
Yeah.
you can't really print an NFT. And I think the days of having NFTs as profile pictures might be long gone.
Yeah. By the looks of it.
So yeah. So I mean, it's amazing, man. I really support the concept of NFT gamification because it's products and services right there which could be visible and could be utilized and consumed in the way it should be.
Yeah, definitely. I think NFTs have a massive, massive role to play in the metaverse in the coming years. It it demonstrates ownership. It's digital ownership, and digital is a space that's I it's a what was it, an $8 or $13 trillion market by 2030, and NFT ties heavily into it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the space evolves for sure. It's interesting to see there's different segments of the metaverse, all combining together, I guess, and NFT playing its own important role. Um, I just want to talk about the play to earn gaming blockchain model. Um,
Mm-hmm.
from the onset, it sounds amazing, Adi. You know, I get to play a game, I get to earn money, I get to cycle, I get to exercise, earn money, I get to play to learn potentially. Um, but the thing with this, Adi, is I feel like at some point it'll become just about the final objective. The monetary value of the activity. So I do worry that it may end up becoming a bit of a it may feel a little dystopian, I guess, similar to the second episode of Black Mirror where the individuals were cycling to earn a digital currency to pay for food or toothpaste. Um, I guess my question is, if companies that are looking to introduce gamification into the metaverse strategy, what could they do to stay away from making the experience for their consumers um, predictable or monotonous? What sort of creative endeavors could companies adopt to keep users interested, keep
Yeah,
users
I mean, it's
engaged?
really amazing that you asked that question because that's what I think. There was an era, and of course, I think with this is a time, um, you know, you're comparing gamification makes something which is more achievable in the metaverse, and then when you talk about play to earn, there's incentivization has always pushed consumers to engage with a particular product, provided that there's retention. So like retention can just not be monetary. It can be something of a brand value in itself. Because like for example, like if I say that I'm engaging with a specific game that's talking about like an asset that's really heavily recognized within a field, and you're making the effort with 100 more people to get that asset. So the way you're consuming and the way you're really working on these products with these assets along with other gamers is only valid till the time the asset has its own value. So as for how we see trends going up and down today, um, you can see a particular product, or you can see a particular, how should I put this? I mean, you've seen NFTs going up and going down, right, and straight up and straight out, and
Yes.
markets affecting. There are different contextual disruptors that affect the whole, thing around NFTs. But the only thing is, how are you able to, protect this asset or create a story around this asset that's gonna enhance its value? Because of course the value might go down after a point of time, but it is only about retention, sustainability, and uh, you know sustained value and loyalty within the users. So it's always a challenge, and I think introduction, reintroduction, innovation, and modifications, amplifications, they really keep the hype up. But as you rightly mentioned, as post the pandemic, we have seen so many academic research papers and so many statistical figures that show that consumers were actually pivoting faster than brands, and this is the real challenge. Because when you're talking about asset, the value of an asset, it is so amazing that within 1 year or 1.5 years, consumers became super fast in the way they consume products online. And this is
Yeah.
within Web2 constructs. Now, when you talk about Web3 constructs, there is effort that is involved with utilization of assets. A consumer can spend 3 hours to 6 hours because they might be having a hybrid job, or maybe a kid is studying from home, or maybe there is a set pattern post the pandemic that a person is actually spending more hours than before on online platforms, that their consumption can be faster than what it was before. So when you're seeing this pivot, the brands will always have a challenge, and that is where I go back to the original purpose of my research, which was to find the adequate measures of finding how gamification and value creation are similar, and we need the right metrics to record this. So this
Yeah.
can be through, from elements of neuromarketing, where there's eye tracking. And I think, as far as I've heard, the next set of Oculus headsets will have eye tracking. So
Yeah.
we are actually seeing some form of connect between, companies like Meta and Oculus, and all the other people who are making VR headsets, really realizing the element of value, and they're actually experimenting on different ways in which these behaviors can be measured, because it's really different from, like I said, Web 2. You and I
Yeah.
cannot have a conversation about social media right now, because it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference in conversation that has come up, and this is really important for both of us and for a lot of other people who are currently exploring this phenomenon.
Yeah. I, I I agree, Adi. I think companies are experimenting by creating different experiences for their users through these immersive technologies are, I think, at this point heading in the right direction. It's about iterating, it's about pivoting the experience for the users, and I think it's an early ground for them to learn off. But I do wonder, like, will the novelty of these experiences wear off? Um, so it may be the case that we may see companies recruit behavioral scientists experts to study human motivation. Um, it'll be interesting to see how they potentially leverage intrinsic motivation for these immersive experiences. I think there's a lot of parties involved that in making sure like these gamification experiences for consumers is looked at from all different angles.
Very
Um,
rightly said, man. It's true. I
I was gonna,
completely agree with you on this.
oh, I was gonna say, do you think the pandemic has changed consumer behavior for good? Um, I read a report recently that said that the pandemic had accelerated consumer behavior um,
Mm-hmm.
by over 50%.
Yeah.
And, people are less likely to shop through brick and mortar. I think it's 36% less. Do you think this is a permanent shift we're seeing, Adi, towards a more.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I completely agree, man. It is true, and there's this. I remember, I think when I started um, my master's at King's, there was this amazing research paper by Jagdish Sheth, who is he is a professor at Emory University in the U.S. Um, and the research is really focused on consumer behavior after COVID-19, and the question actually is, will old habits return or die? When, where, for example, we say, there were audiences who were, they used to prefer ordering food online, but and they used to visiting restaurants as well. But when pandemic happened, they started ordering online soon, like on you go on Deliveroo and you go on like Uber Eats. There's simple checkout measures. You have Apple Pay. You just go and you place your order and you just double tap and you're done, and your order is true. It's true. And there's this um, there's this ever changing behavior because of these contextual disruptors like COVID-19 and pandemics, natural occurrences, and how we basically look at how the scenario is. There's this term that was coined by this by Jagdish Shet in his paper, and it's actually termed as an Indian word, which is very commonly used, and it's called jugaad. And this a very common, and I was shocked because this was the first paper that I read at King's as a part of my course, and I read this word and I immediately familiarized it. I was familiar with this because I was like, okay, this term actually means getting things done by hook or by crook. So when we're seeing the pandemic and we're seeing consumer demand rising because everyone's at home and everyone wants to order online because they want their food delivered, and maybe because they don't have the adequate resources at home to cook food, there is always a way where the consumer wants to find ways in getting things done. For example, if you're you're going on Deliveroo and you're ordering a specific meal, and suddenly you see that the server is hanging up or the app is crashing because there are loads of users on it, you'll try to find alternatives. So you'll probably see some other brand which you might have had the recall of. Maybe you saw an ad on a newspaper, or maybe you saw an ad on Instagram or somewhere else. But you're like, yeah, I remember this brand, and maybe that brand is what might be of use right now. So they start on board, getting on board towards new segments, and
Yeah.
we've seen that pivot. We've seen that pivot that it is really hard for all these big brands to retain users, because if demand rises and they cannot solve for it, or maybe if their customer service is not able to provide for things, they have an instant change of perspective because there are more options available. And the pandemic made it happen when these entrepreneurs who saw opportunities in lags on a digital scale, when this was not happening, and maybe if restaurants were not available or any service was not available, they made an online option to make it happen. And this happened within days. App developers got on it. They made brands. They started marketing it within days, and brands were chasing consumers, and consumers were pivoting much faster than brands. It was like consumers were on a full throttle, and brands are like, "Oh, hey, hold up, I'm right there with you. Just don't leave." So, I mean, that's the whole thing, and they're incentivizing the users, through amazing discounts, cashbacks. There was this big thing in Asia called cashbacks, and it was massive. And every time you wanted to consume, you were not looking for a discount. You were looking for a cashback, because the consumer was like, okay, I'm going to get money back, but that's going in the person's wallet, and then consumption is happening again from the same wallet because you can't utilize that on another service. So consumer loyalty is increasing and everything, and this really paves way for the metaverse. And I'll tell you how. It's because the these pivots have increased the consumer's capacity to find more ways to innovate themselves, and they're constantly looking for new experiences. So if brands utilize at this very point of time the opportunity to provide such a new experience to the consumer will engage. And that's where you can utilize gamification within this pivoting scenario.
It is an incredible opportunity for companies and brands to experiment at this early onset. For sure, Adi, I 100% agree on that. I do, like yourself, I do believe COVID-19, a black swan event, as we call them in the supply chain world, has fundamentally changed consumer behavior, I believe, permanently. I take a look at myself, and when I finished my masters, I joined the workforce from working from home, and and I like it this way. As crazy as it sounds, it's a lot more different than people from a different generation that were used to like working in the office 5 days a week. There's a change happening, and I do believe the metaverse is an area where it's an incredible opportunity all round, I believe. I just wanted to talk about the retail experience, Adi. How do you think it would look in a distributed 3D experience going forward?
So I think it looks for me. To be honest, it's really challenging
Yeah.
because um, when you talk about something like gamification, we've seen experiences coming around for brands. I think I've heard Coca-Cola stepped in the metaverse, and they were doing a lot of stuff. We had Gucci, which was there. They created Gucci World, and consumption specifically in the metaverse is really for retail brands is as at this point of time it's really questionable because the thing is, are retail brands ready to create digital assets which are of use in the metaverse? So we're not talking about cross platform consumption. We're not really talking about a person buying an asset within the metaverse and then taking a screenshot of it and just putting it on their Facebook feed or their Instagram feed. Oh, I bought this item on the metaverse. I mean, it will, of course, it might help in onboarding of new users, but what if that another user, if they step in the metaverse, their their consumption might not be of the same value as they perceived it in a Web2 construct. Because if they don't purchase the same item because they feel like, okay, how am I supposed to utilize it within the metaverse or the physical world? Am I just going to say tell people that it exists, or is it of any use to me? That is something which of course has been in question. A lot of people who were engaging with the Nike world, actually were finding a lot of utility, because if I was wearing an Air Max in the real world, and I do have an Air Force One, which I really like, and if I go to Roblox and I go to Nike World, I can actually consume an Air Max, the same shoe, and I can roam around. And if I have like 10 people that I know as friends in the metaverse, I'm like, hey, I bought the shoe. I actually have it in the metaverse now as well. So it's like it's just there are very different forms of consumption. But of course, measurement in terms of how we see campaigns in the metaverse, it's gonna be really hard for us to understand how this goes. Because I would remember I was in Westfield a couple of months back, and went to Westfield Stratford, and I walked outside. I was just entering the mall, and I saw 3 billboards with the Nike Land ad on Roblox. The only thing I felt was there might be so many people that might be walking towards the same place, and they are in a physical retail space. How does this billboard really help me get into a virtual retail space? And is it a form of recall that I can sustain till I go back home? Because I might remember the word Nike Land, but I'm not aware of Roblox as a gamification platform or a gamified platform that helps me engage with the brand in the metaverse. Because maybe I don't know what the metaverse is. So this is stemming out towards a really big perspective. This is a very big challenge that brands are really advertising it on a level. Maybe kids might get it because there are a lot of youngsters. There are a lot of people within the age bracket of 16 or 15, or even within the same age group that are currently playing Roblox on their parents' phones, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw this Nike Land ad and I'm going to convert and engage with it, and maybe they get a freebie. But of course, is that sustained consumption? Is there really something of value? because these people, how they're perceiving real-time products and how they're perceiving these the products in the virtual space have to be measured differently. And that's where social media and how you see ads on a web 2 construct, or maybe through display ads, is very different from how you see it in the metaverse. So how we onboard users, how we sustain them, and how we see the entire journey to the point that they derive value, and such processes lead to the onboarding of another user and the engagement and so on and so forth, has to be measured in a certain way. And this happens from physical world itself, because here we need personalization, here we need conversations. We can't just offer them an empty store in the metaverse for them to walk in and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to try on products. And I think at this point of time, we don't even know if these brands are going to consider NPCs and as storekeepers. Is it really going to work out? Are you going to use AI and NPCs to really help people consume products, or do you need personalization? Because if you went to Horizon venues before Horizon was launched in the UK, a lot of people from Meta who were hired by Meta were community guides who spoke to you and explained you the product. So, like, as far as I've seen, there are two perspectives. There's a question of an onboarding, but of course, when onboarding happens, there's personalization, which is identical to the physical world. So Web 2 is completely out of context. It's like real world and Web 3. And that's right. That's the big point where we need measurement, where we need metrics, where we need new forms of recording and analyzing consumer behavior, because that's going to give the answer of to what degree am I going to employ resources so that the retail experience has been defined to an extent where the consumer is staying with us, or maybe is bringing 3 or 4 more consumers because he loves this brand and he loves the fact that it's in the metaverse.
There's one thing for sure, Adi. The metaverse will be rich in data. It will be enormous. They'll have so much data insight available to them. So I'm very curious to see how marketers leverage these behavioral economic insights they've got, and I guess it creates a new opportunities for them to sort of communicate this to brands. A company in the metaverse that sells different products, like say JD Sports sells Nike shoes, Adidas shoes. What sort of insights will they gather about their brand, and how will they leverage that? I guess it paves the way for a lot of opportunities. Adi.
Yeah, I definitely. And I've recently come across a lot of conversations where I think there's this field that I did not know about called, brand economics. And Interbrand, I think, is one of the few companies that has brand economists, and they have been trying to. And if you go to on the Interbrand's website, you're able to see how they measure brands. So they do the measurement of the top 100 brands in the world, and they release a list every year. And there's this thing, and the element of brand value and brand strength is computed by engagement, relevance, and brand strength itself. So this formula of how they compute brand value has to be amplified in a way which incorporates elements of metaverse, in terms of how brand engagement takes place in the metaverse. So that the metrics might be a little different. And maybe if I see the report for 2022 for how these brands have been measured, I think there's a gap. There's a big gap, because how the assets that we have consumed in the metaverse from these brands are valued may not be accurate. So, like, if millions are being poured into the metaverse by brands like Nike and Microsoft and all the other top brands in the world that we're seeing right now, the conversation is incomplete. We're still seeing, we're still seeing different figures because this concept has not been implemented completely, and this is going to affect brand valuation completely. I would say like in the next 3 years, we're seeing absolutely different numbers. And if the metaverse works out, and of course, once we start seeing more users coming in through word of mouth and through more conversations, as on the basis of what my previous research said, I think these brands will be, and these forums where brand economists exist will start considering amplifications within their practice, so that when we measure and value brands in the metaverse, it's going to be different. So it completely changes the narrative. That's the whole, ball game that I'm looking at right now. And I've even spoken to Interbrand. I was like, yeah, if you guys want to bring me on, I'm for hire. So yeah, of course I'm looking for jobs in the UK right now. So I'm just like, yeah, I did some stuff with my research. So you just you can have a look at that and yeah, give me a job. So, yeah,
Fingers
it's
crossed.
fun, man. It's really fun.
Fingers crossed. Just to wrap off, Adi, what have you personally learned from engaging in like proto metaverses like Roblox or Fortnite? From a marketing point of view, what have you seen that's like, hang on, there's literally, I have not seen as much research into this element, this aspect of this
So
immersive experience.
before I use, if I would say I would want to talk about personally, I would say I would really want to talk about Fortnite, but I'll take a very amazing case example. This happened with me before, like I think in 2012 or 2011. I don't know, sometime around that. There used to be this game, and of course, I come from a background where my family is really engrossed into golf professionally because they work on golf courses and they've been there in the field for entire lifetimes. But like I was playing Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2010 or 20, I think 2007. And what we used to do is whenever we used to select the golf set for a personalized character, which was either me or my dad, we used to have a conversation of which brand we really preferred. And that was really amazing because, like my dad had a tailor-made set and I had a set of Titleist. So we preferred what set we wanted because that's what really personified, who we are as, a father and son playing golf in real life. And that's what we really expect sometimes. I see my dad playing a game on, I think there's some games that he's put on the PS5. So he really wants to select the same set that he uses in his real life. That's what we've sometimes seen with gaming, car games, driving games, and racing games as well. Like you like a car that you've seen in real life, and you're like, I want to use this car. I want to, I feel like, and there's an aspirational value that I want to use this car in the metaverse as well. Now, when it comes to ownership, that's what really is amazing because you own it, and you're really actually engaging with the brand in terms of converting with the brand. And that's where I think I saw one of the posts on Instagram where it said that I think Lamborghini is going to stop making cars of a specific variant, and these cars will now be available in the metaverse. Now, if I'm seeing Fortnite or any other game, I would like to see my avatar having that piece of beauty next to me.
Of course.
So, because of course it has aspirational value in the real world, and the brand exists as the real brand itself in the metaverse. I'm just not talking about the name being given to a gaming company which has designed the car again. It's the brand collaborating with the company to bring the product in the game. And the brand exists equally in the game as the game itself. That's the beauty of it. That's what, a lot of things, that's what Fortnite has offered in terms of avatars. And I call this direct to avatar marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I call this, adding features and everything. It's direct to avatar marketing. It's like you're selling concepts to avatars who are real people, and you give them the liberty to be who they aspire to be, from the way they look, from to what they own. And that could, if we could measure value in that and define behaviors and level of brand engagement through gamification features, it's going to change the story. It's going to flip the story, and this is going to give so much insight to marketers, to brand economists, to people who are involved with NFTs, in terms of how how you see assets, how you value assets. It's a game changer concept, but there's measurement that's always missing. So yeah, we're at the end of the day, we're talking about old time gamers like you and me. You're talking about people who are entering the field of gamification because they saw incentivization as the core element that wants them to be there because they might earn something. And there's so much to offer that it changed the narrative altogether. But if we can measure it, we can bring so many people on, and that's what really Fortnite and Roblox and all these games they showed me. And I don't know if I can say the same about Minecraft, because that's a really different experience altogether. And I might be a little low on my understanding of Minecraft because I just have it on my iPad and I've not done much about it. But yeah, I have enjoyed it, and I am looking for people around me, as you might have also experienced that you have experienced the metaverse, and you want your friends, your people who know you and your peers to be in the same space as well, because they want to see you as something.
It, it's a whole different experience altogether being with people in the physical world, the real world, in these immersive experiences. I played Roblox, and it feels up to date, man. There's something about it that's different to other games I've played. Is up to date with the trend. People have all different customizable outfits, customizable games, levels. It's just, I believe it's the most earliest onset of the metaverse. I think we look back in 20 years and see these metaverse games as being the foundation for what we build upon. So yeah, Adi, it's been really good doing this with you. Thank you.
Likewise, my man. I mean, thank you so much. And of course, I mean, both of us have shared some amazing insights. This conversation is going to continue on so many other sessions that we're going to host together. And yeah, we're open to having guests. Of course, we're really want to bring on the right amount of people who can, speak and share their experiences and their insight on these sessions, because I think people need to know.
Definitely, I think I'm a metaverse enthusiast, and it's such a broad area. I'm so curious to see different people share their insights into their chosen area of expertise, and I do think something amazing could be created from this. I do. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And I'm looking forward to you sharing your experiences on supply chain management. I mean, I'm so interested in that, man, right now. I mean, it's so amazing.
It's a lot, man. And I'm trying to get the right person on the podcast, Adi. But we'll make it happen. I promise you, we'll make it happen.
For sure. For another time, man. And you know what? I'll just say one thing before we used to close up the session.
Yeah.
I saw a dream, and this just like, I don't know if it exists in the metaverse for now, because I still have restrictions on how I want to use Horizon or certain places. But if suppose you walk into a McDonald's and you see a person standing at the cashier in the metaverse, you walk in as an avatar, you place an order, and then you go through the whole payment process like you do in an online checkout in an app. The next thing is that within 30 minutes, a real McDonald's delivery takes place at your house.
Has McDonald's not already started that concept, Adi? Where you?
I saw something on VR chat. Maybe I think I had a hallucination or something that really happened. But I went on VR chat and I thought this was the real one, and I just wanted to place an order. I'm just like, okay, hey, are you really working at McDonald's? And this other avatar is like, I think he was a kid, and he was like, yeah, what would you like to order? And I'm like,
Oh
you
my
really don't
God.
work here. And he just went to the back of the store, which was like a UI, a build up of the whole real store, and he got me like an item, which was like a packet of fries. And I was like, I'm not supposed to eat this. I would actually rather pay you, but I mean, this is not the real place.
This
But
is
if it really exists, I really want to be there. I mean, I really want to experience this. And I mean, that's where hopes are, that's where this thing is going to grow up, because when we say that this exists, people are going to really freak out. They're going to freak out like shit. So that's going to happen.
I'm so passionate and excited about what this space can offer. Sometimes when I walk outside, I can't help but think, is everybody else thinking the same thing I'm thinking about? Or probably not, I guess, but it will come into fruition and it will become a part of everyday reality. This thing we call, this buzzword called the metaverse. It probably won't even be called the metaverse by then. It probably will just become a facet of reality, just a different part of reality,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and a crucial part. But yeah, it's been good, Eddie. Thank you.
Definitely. It's been amazing. So many conversations, so many insights. Ah, damn, I'm loving it. But
I'm,
yeah,
lo-
I think we
yeah,
have we have more sessions coming up.
we
So
do.
yeah.
Let's
let's
fuck it
let's
up.
let's keep the hype up. Let's keep the hype
Also,
up. Let's put this on Spotify and just like, damn, we got it, man. We got it.
yeah,
We're in the metaverse right now.
we're finally in. Also, Eddie,
Yeah.
see you
And
there.
it's been a good start, man. It's been a good start, Taza, and I think let's build the hype from there.
I'm excited, Eddie, and I'm all for it. But we're gonna do a, what's it called, a VR sort of podcast experience soon.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, let's work on it, man. I'm just trying to. Right after this session, I'm gonna just put my headset on and just see like, okay, how can I build this? let's do this. I mean, of course, I'm really looking forward to something like that, because we can share such an amazing perspective on LinkedIn and all the other people, so that people can really see and manifest themselves doing sessions like these. It just brings a lot of inspiration, but it can happen for sure. Another day, yes, but yes, for sure, it's gonna happen.
just do it, Eddie. I'm excited.
Let's do it, man,
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie.
for sure. Thank you so much, Daza, and let's catch up for another session
All
in
right,
the in
let's do it, Eddie.
in the near time. Yeah,
Yeah, of course, in the near time. Take care,
for
Eddie.
sure. Cheers, man. All right,
Cheers.
thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We'll be back with another session next week. Cheers.